Here we go. Bigus, everyone. Thank you for all your support for the Kyokushin Shuffle. And as time changes and people move and lots happening, I'm so fortunate and blessed to get the time here of someone that I was looking forward to having a chat for this series, for Forever the Coach series. But this is a unique guest because he's got a lot to share with us from a whole multiple of angles. And this is the cool bit of the shuffle, right? You know, we get to grow from all different parts and experiences. So I'd like to welcome Coach Damian Brown from Brisbane. How are you? Thanks for your time, mate.
Hey, mate. How you going? Thanks for having me.
No, thank you. And for, you know, this is a cool way of acknowledging how busy you are, and you've made the absolute effort here to be on your way to a seminar, but you're like, Paddy, let's do it, man. I've got 45 odd minutes and happy to have a chat. So I do appreciate your effort.
All right, man. It's a pleasure. I mean, if I got spare time, I'm always always happy to share as much knowledge as possible and have a chat.
So, you know, for many out there that aren't familiar with Damien, we can go on for a whole podcast here for 1 hour, but in just sharing more so, you know, how are you? And give us an idea of, you know, what's been keeping you busy, obviously with Brisbane not being too affected with COVID, but, you know, you've got facility, you're a family, you're a dad, you're a husband, you've got all these amazing things happening.
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm good. You know, I'm one of those people that's like, you know, 1% better every day kind of person. So,
Awesome.
you know, I do what I can. But yeah, I'm doing good. You know, I've got a lot of things going on, and family, business, and all that sort of stuff. But I'm definitely good.
Fantastic. You know, one of the sides here is, I was just gesturing earlier, and for the listeners, is Damien's got such a wealth of experience, knowledge, and so much to discuss. And that while I get this chance to have a chat, is to kind of, let's start off with how, you know, your career within martial arts, but more so within the fighting angle and the multiple adjustments of you know, because the adjustments of you being contracted with UFC, you being contracted with other organizations, and just as you're, you know, doing what you can to be a fighter and listening to coaching and mentors and so on, you've also got to be cautious of, you know, the other side of it, which is your life and your livelihood.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think like when you say, you know, like life and livelihood and, you know, I think it's, there's an art in being able to train and listen to coaches and then pass that knowledge on. But I say that in the sense that it's easy to pass knowledge on, but there's something special about being a coach. And I think being a coach is the same as being an athlete. You need to be good at that. That's probably the hardest thing that I find is, it's also a benefit, but it's one of the hardest things that I find is, trying to better yourself as a individual and then trying to better yourself as a coach. It's very time consuming. It takes a lot of, my mind never stops, you know?
Yeah.
But it's, you know, I just turned 36. So, you know, I might not have to do it too much longer. I invested in my own training center, so hopefully that would pull me away from competing. Because God knows nothing else will. I live for the burning desire to compete against the best in the world, and and I've been fortunate enough to do that. But yeah, you know, I do focus a bit more on the livelihood these days and the life outside of fighting. So, yeah.
Well, there you go. That is a sweet segue here to appreciate what's happening in your life and your journey thus far, because you're still in that fight, you know, mode and activity and everything like that. But then you've got your new facility and you're taking care of students and members and so forth, and showing them some really cool stuff. I'm following you on your Instagram page as well. Let's get to a bit of your fighting angle to just start off with the coaching of, you know, the mixture of martial arts that you've had to put together. You know, some of the guests I've had have had to balance the specialty side of their student or their coaching experience, meaning they're a specialist in striking or they're a specialist in grappling, for example. You as the athlete, where were you starting to see where the coaches were starting to help you?
Oh, man. So as a kid and early teens, I actually did Zendukai. So I did karate, and you know, I had a sensei and everything. So I'm kind of like a striker first, but I'm not at the same time. I was, but then I took up kickboxing and a couple of amateur kickboxing fights. But really, I guess I really took to the wrestling really well.
Right.
I think that's because I played sort of 17 or 18 seasons of rugby league, and
oh, cool.
I really just kind of took to the wrestling really easily. So I feel like probably the big thing that I really relied on my coaches for was my jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
You know, I felt reasonably athletic when it came to striking, developing as a striker, wrestling, developing as a wrestler for MMA, obviously. I felt reasonably okay with that as far as across the board. But jiu-jitsu is definitely something that I relied heavily on for guidance. In saying that, you know, I've had a striking coach and I've done striking PTs every week for 10 years. You know, it's not like I neglected any areas because I was good at it. I just like to think of myself as a well-rounded fighter and not someone with a specialty.
Gotcha.
You know, my specialty is no matter whether it's on the floor or on the feet, is that I win scrambles. So I'm not going to technically stand in front of a kickboxer and expect that I'm going to out kickbox them.
I see.
But I'll dirty box them if I get on the inside and make it dirty. Do you know what I mean? And it's the same with wrestling. I don't think for a second that I'm going to do jiu-jitsu with Craig Jones and submit Craig Jones. But if he puts his head in the wrong spot, I'll soccer kick him. Do you know what I mean? It's like
I get you.
It's like I'm not a specialist in any kind of area. I'm an MMA fighter and across the board I'm just an all-round athlete. But I do feel like if I relied heavily on guidance, that it was in a jiu-jitsu sense.
Yeah, nicely said. And I appreciate you mentioning that, because you've balanced it out nicely with your karate side of things, and then what you've also explored your traits with. So when that starts to complement, obviously, with what your main goal is and your profession as an MMA fighter, you know, you start to go through this is you, right? This is what you're working on. You're building yourself up to be the weapon that you are. And then there are the factors of your opponents. And then there are the alternatives of what comes at you. And then the reliance of your experience and your coaching stuff. How have you gone with that, you know, in adjusting, because you've been in different organizations and so forth?
So how have I adjusted to opponents?
Yep, because of the skills that you're working on, growing with. And then, you know, because you can get a different opponent, right? You guys don't know who it is. You got 8 weeks to get ready.
I feel like that's probably one of my greatest advantages of being an all-round athlete. You know, like these guys that have a specialty field, if you have an opponent change, then, you know, you need to change your plan.
That's right.
So if you're predominantly like a specialist in striking, and you go from facing a striker to facing a wrestler, you need to adjust your striking style and your game plan accordingly. In saying that, someone I think, you know, well, it's not even that I think, but someone who does it really well is Israel Adesanya. So he's a specialist in striking. Do you know what I mean? He's a purple belt in jiu-jitsu, but let's be honest, you know, he's not, you know, Craig Jones when he was a purple belt in jiu-jitsu. He's a purple belt in jiu-jitsu, but he's a specialist striker. You know, 100 kickboxing fights or whatever he's had. It's like his defensive wrestling means that he can outstrike anyone and defensively wrestle anyone. So if he has a game plan change where he goes from facing a striker to facing a wrestler, nothing changes.
Yeah.
Because he's defensively so good with his wrestling that his jiu-jitsu is irrelevant. It will help him on the ground survive and get back to his feet. Maybe he'll get a sub. I'm not saying his jiu-jitsu sucks by any means.
No.
I never discredit anyone's ranking, but we're talking specialists. We're talking specialists. He's a guy that, by chance, his defensive wrestling doesn't hold up with a short notice change. He's got jiu-jitsu to fall back on to get back to his feet. But he's the kind of guy that's got this specialist kind of field, and then a defensive wrestling, which means he could change opponents anytime and it won't make a difference.
Yeah.
But predominantly speaking, guys that strike, they love their striking, they don't focus on wrestling enough. Or guys that are awesome at jiu-jitsu don't focus on their striking enough. So I like to think that all around, you know, if someone changed opponents on me, I have the ability to wrestle with people with an opponent. We don't go too into depth, but you know, we watch 3 or 4 fights. And the thing is, you can't take an opponent's last fight and make a plan off that, because an opponent's last fight was tailored towards the person they were fighting.
That's right. Yeah.
So all you can do is watch 3 or 4 fights.
Yes.
And you pick up common traits.
Beautiful.
So you don't watch the last one and go, oh, this is his last performance.
Gotcha.
You watch the last 6 and you go, what was the same thing he did in all 6 fights?
Yes.
Because that's what you're looking for. You're looking for patterns.
Hey,
you're
man,
not looking for what they did well and what they didn't do well in the last fight. You're looking for the patterns over the last few. That's,
point.
You know, credit to my coach, Steve Compton. That was him that said that to me.
Yeah, right.
So yeah,
that's a great point. I appreciate you bringing that one up. That's kind of the nice way. That's a beautiful way to end that /question, because that's exactly the behind the scenes that us enthusiasts and students as such don't get to really, you know, grasp, because like you said, your coaches just gestured it in that way. So then for you to see, you know, as a fighter, so many, and like you said, Israel's one example. I'm sure you've got many others. That are you someone that and your coaching staff, you know, work on something new meaning, okay, whether it's for the opponent or for you? How do you guys do something new to evolve and adapt? And is it worked on via a 6 months program? You know, like, can you give us some insight there?
I'm very fortunate. I train in a few different places. One of those places is Team Compton Training Center.
Yes.
The group that we have that we train with, rather than being a bunch of MMA fighters who, you know, do jiu-jitsu twice a week, do striking twice a week and wrestle once, which, don't get me wrong, worked well for me throughout my career. We're fortunate that we train during the day, and a lot of us are either business owners or coaches or PTs.
Yeah.
The group that we have is, you know, we got boxers, we got kickboxers, we got MMA guys, we got guys that have won everything in jiu-jitsu, but we all train together and do mixed martial arts.
Right.
Not for MMA competition, but we all train martial arts together.
Yes.
So the best part about that is when I do something and a boxer counters me, I can say, how did you do that? And he goes, oh, I did this. And I'll go, cool. Or when, you know, say I'm sparring with a southpaw boxer and I throw an inside leg kick, and he's like, why do I keep getting hit with those? And I can talk about range from an MMA point of view. So we've got this really cool dynamic in the group that we train with, where we're always working on every field. Who have formed that, I feel like that's an advantage for us, is that we're never set in our ways, you know.
Yes.
And I think the thing with MMA is you don't, if you're competing, you don't really have an option to focus on single disciplines. You need to focus on the game.
Yeah.
And so I think that helps us, is that we expose ourselves to all those variations on a daily basis. But you know, there's other ways. I've been talking from a coaching perspective,
Sure.
which I've had the advantage of having one of the best, if not the best, jiu-jitsu coaches in the country, and Dan Higgins, and he you know, he's my MMA coach as well. But from a jiu-jitsu perspective, you know, if you want to get better, take the things out that you do well.
Yeah.
And expose yourself to the things you don't do well.
Yeah.
And you know, I remember 8 years ago, I was putting guillotine chokes on everyone, and then all of a sudden they weren't working, and I was like, why are these not working?
Yeah.
Because I'm not defending the takedown first to attack the neck. I'm attacking the neck as a reaction. So now I'm reacting to someone who's half a step ahead of me.
I get you.
My submission is not going to work if I'm chasing something without setting it up. So, you know, that's where that's the first example, and then it's happened recently, and then I just passed on the same knowledge to one of my students, where I was like, okay, they go, how do I get better? I go, stop doing what you're doing good and find out what you're doing bad.
Nice.
You know, you take a front choke series out of someone's game. Do they have an armbar? Do they have a Kimura? Can they escape? Do they have a sweep? It's like they find all these holes in their game because they're so used to doing the things that they're good at.
Yeah.
So I think that without programming over a period of time, there's ways to get better.
Yeah.
You know, we still need to do jiu-jitsu every week. We still need to box every week. We still need to kickbox every week. We still need to wrestle every week. So change the things that you do when you do those things. So if I'm doing jiu-jitsu every week, this week I'm not allowed to do guillotine chokes. Yes. Next week I'm not allowed to. Next week I have to focus only on sweeps, no submissions. So for 5-minute rounds, I'm not allowed to submit anyone. I'm only allowed to get off my back. You know, like you got to set yourself parameters, not just your coaches.
Yes. Yeah. No, that's awesome.
I feel like that's how you get better. At MMA. Without focusing on single disciplines, which unfortunately as an athlete, you don't have time to do. You know, it's a 10 to 15 year career unless you're a heavyweight. You know, if you start MMA at 20, by the time you're 35, if you're not broken down, then you're doing well. But most people are, you know, they're not competing after that. So you got 10 to 15 years.
Yes.
You know, you could have 10 fights if you're Conor McGregor and you make it all the way to the top and make good money. But most people don't. There's a small percentage that do. Most people don't. And for that, people have to fight regularly. And if you're fighting regularly 3-4 times a year,
it's
difficult to have those periods where you go, I'm just going to box for a few months. So, you know, I feel like, thankfully, the teams that surround me have put systems and teams and training schedules in place that allow us to develop regularly. And that's cool. We put our own individual boundaries in place.
You know, what I took out of that was the camaraderie, I guess, of the mateships with the honesty of like, you there?
Okay.
Yeah, so just an internet thing there, listeners, all good. So what I was gesturing was, what I get out of it was the honesty of your teammates and camaraderie. Out of one of the most important things of honesty in doing this is, you know, what did I do bad, or how am I still getting kicked in the thigh, or what am I doing? How, you know, that's so important in just helping each other out, you know, and that was a good way that you put it. So I appreciate you reminding us of that, because even when I'm coaching my students, similar thing. At the end of a class, I go chat to each other. You know, the upbringing is probably to just, you know, sit down, stretch down, cool down. It's like, shit, hold on a sec. We've done a nice hour of stuff. You know, how do you guys, you know, do you guys film each other, or do your coaches film you in any way and dissect things? Is that done and dusted with your experience thus far?
We kind of just film each other on our phones, man.
Yeah.
I think like at the level that I've reached, it's interesting because, you know, most of the guys you're training with aren't new to it. So we all have experience. Most of us are coaches in other areas.
Yeah, right.
So we can share that kind of knowledge. I think, you know, say you have a gym and it's full of white belts. Now you don't want white belts coaching each other. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
But in saying that, they should say to someone, hey, listen, coach, I caught him in 5 arm bars today. Can you help him out while I caught him in 5 arm bars? Or someone should say to me, hey, listen, coach, I got caught in 5 arm bars today. I don't even know why.
Yeah.
And I go, okay, cool. Or
Good
how'd you get caught in them? And then we can break it down and I can help that person. That's a coach's job, right?
Yeah.
So, but by
Yeah.
the time you reach purple, brown, black belt, if you're not coaching each other, like, giving your feedback allows that person. It doesn't mean you've got to fix it for them. It means you give them the feedback. Then maybe they go to their coach and go, "Hey man, I was rolling the other day and I kept getting this same issue and I couldn't fix it. Can you fix it for me?" That's a coach's job. But an athlete, once you get to a certain level, whether you're an enthusiast or not, you should be self-reflecting and self-analyzing and making yourself better. And that's important. But it's also the key there was that, you know, it's not a white belt's job to give feedback to another white belt. You're in a very early stage of your jiu-jitsu career.
Yeah.
It's the same in anything.
Or martial arts. Yeah, no, good point. And, you know, with the many hats you've got on at the moment, you know, you're off to a seminar now, for example. How are you building your brand? And your brand meaning, you know, you've got the experience and you're continually fighting. You're 36. You, like you said, you kind of keep going until, you know, wherever it ends. But how do you manage this side of it? Do you prepare your seminars? Do you grab multiple things that you've learned, obviously, across your years? Where are you at with that?
Oh, so I'm not actually going to a seminar now. I'm going to a podcast.
Oh, okay, sorry.
So I'm going to an in-studio podcast with Swiss 8. If anyone doesn't know who that is, follow them on Instagram. It's SWISS8.
Cool.
They're a charity that do programs. They have a Swiss 8 app on your smartphone or your Android. They do a lot of stuff for military veterans, on, you know, meditation, exercise, nutrition, sleep, all that sort of stuff to help veterans with you know, I guess it's veterans helping veterans because it's actually veterans that run it.
Awesome.
I'm going to do an in-studio podcast with them now to talk about exercise and nutrition for mental health.
Good one.
So, but back to your question, I do run seminars as well. You know, I think with seminars is one, you ask what they want you to teach. Yeah. You know, maybe they came to you to teach a certain thing. But you know, I always feel like you stick to your strong points. There's no point teaching something you're not very good at. But in saying that, by the time you get to teaching seminars, you should be pretty good at most things. But we all have, you know, your white, blue, purple belts in jiu-jitsu are learning and your brown belts honing their skills. And by the time you get to black, you should have a knowledge base on everything, but especially specialize in a certain sort of area, you know.
What's yours? What's yours? Where do you feel yours is?
You know, mine's obviously in a front choke, sort of that front choke series, be it head arm chokes or guillotines. You know, I use that chin strap guillotine a fair bit, and then I use it for my escapes, my sweeps, and my attacks.
Right on.
Yeah, I like doing seminars. I like doing MMA seminars. So striking into wrestling. Not striking because I'm not a kickboxer. Not wrestling because I'm not a D1 wrestler. I like doing MMA seminars. Seminars that I can share the knowledge from striking into wrestling into the ground game, so I can link chained exercises together.
I get you. I get you.
That's what I like sharing when I do a seminar. But, you know, even before I do a seminar, I'll go to my coach and go, "Hey, coach, I'm doing a seminar. This is what I want to do. Can you work on it with me?" And I get my coach to work on it, so I make sure the knowledge that I'm passing on is not just thrown together on the day.
Yes.
So yeah, that's
that example.
That's what I do.
That example that you just said there. I was fortunate to have GSP was. So we're based. My dojo is based in Hammers Gym here in Nunawading, and George St. Pierre rocked up and did a seminar, and exactly what you just said, he did. So he started with one exercise of a striking with his legs. Then he changed the range from his leg kick to a punch, a disguised punch. So then from the punch, he changed it into getting a grapple movement either around the waist or around the leg. Then he took him down. Then he shows us that approach to take down. Then on the takedown, move to the side, engage into your grapple trap or wherever you're, you know, again, like you said, into a basic side of things. And that was a, you know, again, that new interpretation for, I guess, in a way for the people out there is that MMA flow, that flow of whether it's the other way around, you know, you can go stand up all the way down to ground and then ground all the way up to stand up. It's pretty cool.
Okay, so that's what I've been focusing on, you know, this week in my MMA classes.
Oh, yeah?
Attack, defend, attack. But your
Right.
defense should be offense. So you should be throwing punches when you're defending.
Yes. Okay.
A lot of people don't understand that, but you need to. It's not I throw a jab, then I slip, then I throw a hook. It's I throw a jab, I slip and throw a cross, then I throw a hook. So I intercept the combination that's coming towards me as part of my defense, and then I counterattack.
Yep.
But what I've been focusing on in the gym lately, which is very highlighted by Max Holloway,
yeah,
and the way he fights, is pressure.
Yeah.
So you need to change the power and the speed in all of your punches.
Right.
So someone like Max Holloway, when he hits, he's not hitting hard every time.
Yeah, I see what you mean. I've watched his last one. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna pull over for you guys so my internet doesn't cut out.
That's
all right. So,
the pressure of Holloway. Yep.
Through pressure, you create predictable outcomes.
Mm-hmm.
So, pressure creates panic. Panic creates predictable outcomes.
Gotcha.
If you double jab someone, triple jab someone, throw 6 jabs, and it's just touching them in the nose but not hurting them, but they're always on their heels, the common outcome is, if your right hand's up, the only openings you give them is a right body shot or a right overhand. It's pretty hard to throw kicks off your back, off your heels. So they stand their ground, they bomb the right hand. It's a predictable outcome, which makes it easy to counter.
Sure, gotcha. Yeah.
The counters could be a cover into an uppercut. It could be roll on the body. It could be roll under, step through into a southpaw stance and hit the table. And then you have multiple counters for the same predictable outcome.
Yeah.
So that's what we focus on. Now that's the MMA seminar game. So when you go with an MMA seminar, you give them a striking combination.
Yep.
That creates a predictable outcome. Then you give them options. So you give them a striking option. They drill that for a bit. Then you give them a takedown option off the same predictable outcome. So then they hit the takedown. So then they've got 2 options.
Yes.
Now we focus on the takedown. Once we hit the takedown, we need a finish position. You don't want to finish in guard. While you're scrambling, you want to finish in side control. So we give them, maybe like a way to finish in a dominant position. And then we go, okay, once you finish here, now this is what you want to do. And then that's how you get your flow.
Yeah, nice.
But it all starts from creating a predictable outcome. If you don't create a predictable outcome, how do you know what you're defending?
Nice nugget. Yeah.
You don't. So we're just creating pressure at the moment. So that's that's how I coach my classes. So if you're in Brisbane, you want to learn about the game, drop in a base training center.
That's it. That's mad. That's what I love doing this stuff so people can start to get to know you a bit better and acknowledge that when we all get to Melburnians get to fly up to you, and that'd be awesome, man, if some of my listeners get to dabble and train with you. So I appreciate you sharing some of that nugget there, man. That was mad. That was really cool to listen to from your perspective, and even giving that example of Max, his last bout was just absolute carnage, right? He deployed that game plan beautifully. How did you see all that?
Oh man, well, it was predictable. I seen it. I knew it was coming.
Yeah,
that's how he fights. If he can't fight like that, he loses. That's why he lost to Volkanovski.
Yeah.
So, my thing is, when I watched his fight, afterwards, you get a lot of people that are like, man, Max has got pillows as hands. They talk about how he lacks power and all this sort of stuff. Max Holloway doesn't want to hit people hard. Max Holloway hit that guy 700 times. Well, through 700 punches. He hit him like 470 times or something.
Yeah, that's right.
You don't you don't need power to hit someone that many times. You know what I mean? He just hits them that many times that they don't have an answer, and when they do, it's predictable. So he doesn't get hit as much because it's predictable and he knows it's coming. He rolls the shoulders, he counters, he stays on them. He constantly touches them, so they don't have time to breathe. They don't have time to set their feet, and they don't have time to counter attack. All their attacks are panic attacks.
Yeah, they were. Hey, Coach, how do you go with a category here that a lot of us, a lot of us meaning that train and stay active and fit, strength and conditioning component. This part of training, you know, takes a lot out of you physically, obviously. How are you going with that in your career at 36 and obviously going through the system and now at your age, you know, and building your physique, you know, what's some of the things that you can share with us there on where it's heading and what's been going on?
Look, man, I think when you're a young guy, you can do a lot of, you know, when I was younger, I did like CrossFit and I played touch football, and I used touch football as my sprint work, and, you know, you can get away with it, and then you might do 10 hours of martial arts training. But I think you get to a point in your career where it's not so much about doing that sort of stuff, but more about maintenance. You know, I don't feel like I've ever been out muscled at lightweight. I don't feel like I've ever had someone that's been far more explosive than me. There certainly is those people out there, but I've never faced it so far. I just definitely don't feel like I've been out muscled ever in my career. So I guess with a lot of the injuries that I have from my military service, you know, I find it really difficult to do long, exhausting strength conditioning workouts. So I tend to try to keep them short, sharp, and sweet, and focus on a lot of you know, unilateral stuff, or like focusing on like one side at a time, and just staying strong, fit, and healthy. And then just let my martial arts do its thing. That's what I focus on now. You know, at the end of the day, strength conditioning should always be supplementary. You know, your strength conditioning should never be your primary objective. At the end of the day, you're trying to be a martial artist. You're trying to be an MMA athlete. It's certainly a big component of it, but you should never use a strength conditioning session to replace a jiu-jitsu class. Let's put it that way. Or to replace a kickboxing session. It's always like, if you can't fit it in because you got too much martial arts going on, swing a kettlebell around for 15 minutes.
Right. Yeah. Gotcha.
And as long as you're competing in the right weight class, it shouldn't matter anyway. But you know, we all should do strength conditioning. Injuries are prevented through you know, through that sort of stuff.
You know, the part there is in complementing, you know, the whole package, the whole suite, right? You know, you've got your, like you just gestured there for listeners, you know, you got to focus on certain things more than the other. When it comes to the coaching and your coaches now, so we'll slowly go into how you've been helping your students. You've given us so much cool stuff of just you and your system and your team. The coaches of you at the minute at your age, and you don't need to reveal too much of your secrets, mate. It's just, you've done awesome thus far, but what is now a factor with what you're trying to achieve? What is the thing that you are like, right? You know, like you said, you know, that's a 10-year career as such. You're down, you know, I'm not sure how many years you feel you've got left. How are you feeling? What's ahead? And what are the coaches kind of working towards you in your, I guess, your last stages of you being an elite athlete?
Man, I think COVID has almost made the decision for me.
Shit. Sorry to hear.
Look, man, my gym is going awesome. You know what I mean? I set up a community to help people. And plenty have reached out, and that's what we're doing. You know, I don't have a fight gym. I have athletes that compete out of a you know, a martial arts center. And I think that's the way to be. And it's going really good. And you know, I'm just taking it one fight at a time. I like to compete in Japan. The Japanese people, the promotion, everyone over there treats you like royalty because it's such a samurai culture. So if I had my way, I would be back over there fighting, but you can't travel there, and you certainly can't travel there till 2022 now if you're an Australian. So I guess all of that's off the table. So, you know, I'd like to have one more fight in Australia.
Okay,
I always said I'd never
awesome.
fight in Australia again, but if the money's right and if the business makes sense, which obviously now is a little different to what it used to be because of COVID.
Yes.
You know.
Yes. Yes.
So if everything lines up, then we'll
right.
make it happen. More importantly, we're talking about it, and
That's great.
we have an opponent that's agreed to it. I will not fight another Australian. I'll only fight an international.
Okay.
I want a fight that's going to be a blockbuster. I want a fight that's going to light Australia on fire. You know what I mean?
Oh man, that's awesome.
A fight that I can go out swinging in, and someone that's not just going to try and wrestle me. Someone that's going to try and fight me in MMA. So most people will work out who it is, but if we can make that happen, then we'll see what happens after that.
That's it. I appreciate you sharing that. Let's get into your phase here that you've spent, I'm sure, a lot of time, energy and effort towards, and this is your facility, and this is an angle that I'm passionate about because I've got mine and I've got a couple of Kyokushin dojos and wanting to build community and educate and teach others that I've learned for the last 20 years. How much, and I know you've got such a passion and commitment for your military comrades and the work that you're doing, like this podcast. How you going with it? You've gestured that it's kicking ass, which is awesome. What are the things that you offer in there, and share with the listeners, when they get a chance to go up to Brizzy, how they work, closely with you if they get a moment.
Oh man, well we've got jiu-jitsu program, we've got kickboxing classes, MMA classes, and we do wrestling on Friday night. Our wrestling is obviously focused on wrestling for MMA. So it's not, we're not pretending or preparing anyone for a Division I, All American wrestling. We're literally, we're running a wrestling program that's catered around single leg, double leg, and clinch takedowns for MMA. So we stick to high percentage movements and defenses. So yeah, that's what we offer. We're also a place for people to hang out. So we're looking to go bigger soon.
Awesome. Yeah.
And we'll be. Oh man, we should do another podcast because in the next couple of months, I'm gonna have some even more bigger nuggets. But I can't say too much. But we're looking to go bigger soon, and when we do, man, we'll be all in one center. You'll be awesome. You'll be able to box, kickbox, do MMA, do jiu-jitsu, drink coffee.
I see. How exciting!
Hanging out all day long.
Yeah. So good on you, mate.
At the moment, we got opening hours. Soon, hopefully, we'll be open for 10, 12 hours a day. So we'll see what happens.
Oh well, that's.
But cool. we offer everything, man. But more importantly, I offer an ear and I offer a shoulder. So if anyone needs somewhere to hang out, then they know that the Base Training Center is a good place to come and hang out. I drink black coffee, so if they want to bring coffee, I'll listen for as long as my coffee lasts.
Good tip.
So yeah, it's good
on you, man.
Being an Army veteran, I like to provide an environment where people who are struggling and maybe don't get off the couch most of the time can at least get off the couch and come into an environment where someone's willing to listen and not judge. So that's the whole mission and point of my gym.
Man, that's powerful shit, man, and I love it. And it was a big reason why I wanted to get you on. We've got probably 5 more minutes or so, and I appreciate your time. I just wanted to recap here before we summarize. I appreciate you sharing your athlete side of things and the angles of what you've gone through. Very, very cool to hear that, especially with what you've been with coaching and so on, the coaches that you've had, and you've acknowledged that, and then where your situation is currently, and I hope that all works out, as they say, for the best. And if shit goes down here in Australia, holy commotion, I can't wait to see that. And then your facility and what you offer as a coach. And one thing I've just got to share with you is just that appreciation of what you said. always here to help, always here to listen, and always got a shoulder to, and that's such a powerful thing, man. And I commend you with that.
Thank you, man. I think that's what martial arts is about.
Yeah.
It's blurred sometimes by the fastest growing sport in the world being MMA, and it's sometimes blurs the values of a martial artist. But at the end of the day, we're all there for a common goal, and competition is a byproduct of that, and that's how it should be treated.
Yeah. Well, thank you again for your time. Awesome getting to have a chat with you. I do appreciate your effort there in getting to where you had to then and making the time. So thank you again. And to all the listeners, thanks to Coach Damien. I'll put his details obviously up with his Instagram page. He's got some wicked stuff that he always shows, and very generous. So Coach, thank you so much. Have a great day.
No worries, man. Thanks for that. I appreciate it.
Good on you. Take care. All the best, everyone. We look forward to the next one for Forever the Coach. I'm sure you got some really cool information, experience there, and I'm sure Coach Damien, like when I contacted him, was easily contactable via his Instagram. And if you're ever in Brisbane, you know where to go now. Take care. Us.